Hey everyone, I'm DCB, or Dustin Crops Boy for short. I was born in 1971, which puts me right in the sweet spot of being a kid of the Star Wars generation. Unlike most of my classmates, though, I really couldn't care less about Luke or Han or Darth Vader, and instead I focused my attention on the characters in the peripheral. I would stare at pictures of them in the storybooks and on trading cards and anywhere else I could find them. I would become way more excited when they would air the making of Star Wars specials on TV than I would be of seeing the actual movies. Back then, seeing anything was a rare treat, but with the specials, I felt like I was getting a more intimate, slowed down look at the world than I was in the more quickly edited movies, so I could really stop and admire it all for what it was. The thing that no doubt set Star Wars apart from any other sci fi movie before it was the gritty, worn down, and lived in look that everything had. You felt like this was a real world that real people lived in. So when I make a replica of a Star Wars costume or prop, I make sure to take extra care in giving the piece that look too. To me, if an item is too clean, it looks like a toy or someone's first day of school. There's also too dirty as well, so there's a bit of a balance you have to achieve. In this video, I'm going to show you how I weathered my 3D printed life-size replica of IG11, each step from the plastic printout to the final finished product. I purchased and downloaded the files from my pal Dave Moog on Etsy. He's a genius and his files are so crisp and incredibly well designed. Links to his page are in the description below. You should also check out the Droid Division Facebook page. Everyone on there is super friendly and they're willing to help out. Dave's file contains two versions of each part, one set for larger printers and another set that has the parts broken into bite-sized pieces for smaller printers. The foot is probably the largest in the set, and that easily fits on my 40 by 40 centimeter bed. The foot alone took over 40 hours to print, so printing the entire kit took me about 2 months and countless rolls of filament. No matter how good your printer is, there will always be print lines. Some people aren't bothered by these, but I certainly am. It's like a low-resolution JPEG in a print ad, and as a graphic designer, that stuff just drives me crazy. I spend a majority of my time getting rid of these as best as I can, and that means a lot of sanding and filler primer and glazing putty. You can get these items at your big box stores, your local hardware store, or AutoZone. I repeated the puttying and sanding and priming process over and over again until the lines are nearly invisible. After the final layer of primer has dried, I painted each piece with Rust-Oleum 2X in metallic aluminum. This paint dries really quick, like in a half an hour or so you can go right to the next step, which is to lightly mist the whole thing with Rust-Oleum in Black Knight metallic. This paint is pretty transparent, so focusing your spray at varying intensities gives it a nice multi-toned look. With the silver underbase and this paint with just a bit of glitter to it, it really gives the piece a metallic look and also some heft to it. Now, some people would stop at this stage, but I'm going to take it to the next level. And my secret ingredient is just your everyday common black shoe dye. You can get this stuff pretty much anywhere like Target or Walgreens. Don't get the shoe polish in the tin can though. Get the dye in the bottle with the sponge applicator tip. You're going to want to dab a smallish area with this stuff, really cramming it down into the nooks and crannies, and then use an old rag to wipe it up before it sets in too long. Practice first in a less conspicuous area until you get the hang of it, because if you leave it on too long, it will leave a dark mark that may not be too easy to wipe away. Another tool in my kit I just recently discovered at the hobby store are these weathering paints from Vallejo. They have rust and grime and dust and a whole variety, but the one I like the most is called Engine. It leaves this perfectly sticky glob that has a slight yellowish tint to it like motor oil, but it also looks really dark and dirty where it pools up. It's quite easy to work with too. Just dip your brush in the jar and liberally dab it, where you think oil would come out, like on a bolt or a joint or wherever there's moving parts. And then just let it run down the piece naturally like oil really would, or you can help it by gently running your brush over it in a downward motion. After a few seconds, you can dab it with a rag to sort of lock it in place where you want it. Of course, another standard weathering trick to do is to thin down black acrylic paint with water and dab that into the creases, then wipe that with a rag. It really helps define the deep recessed areas. I will also occasionally use Woodland Scenic paints found in the model railroad section of my hobby store. They give a nice, matte, dusty look to an item. Another easy trick to do is to dab an old toothbrush or a stiff bristled paintbrush into some paint and use your thumbnail to flick little speckles into various places. It's super easy and an effective weathering technique. So there you have it. These are the simple things I do to weather my Star Wars props. It's quite fun and easily my favorite part of the process. And it doesn't take a lot of time and it can be done fairly inexpensively, but it really brings your prop to the next level. Your friends, neighbors, coworkers, and some animals will be quite impressed.
I will initiate self-destruct.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
You're weird.